Hey everybody, Spencer here with a quick update before the show. There are some audio issues with this week's episode. I did do some adjustments so that it's listenable. The mic was incorrect while we were recording, and the mic was like a foot away from me that was actually being used. So I apologize for that. We'll make sure that in the future to double sound check. It was showing up on its levels, so I didn't even think to check the audio. That's my bad. We'll make sure to do better in the future. Enjoy this week's episode. It's fun. The gain is going to be a little bit high, but hopefully you're still able to listen and enjoy the show. Thanks. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Need to Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and I am joined by the boiled Mike Peralta, Wes Singleton.
Once again, still don't get the reference.
You know, it's sad to hear you haven't watched 99, man. Like, it is,
No.
it is chef's kiss. It is chef's kiss. It is not as good as the show that we're about to talk about today. Today's episode.
I was gonna say I have to prioritize my mainstream sitcoms that I can watch. So, like, at least my priorities are in the right place.
Yeah, that's fair. But today we're going to talk about my actual favorite TV show of all time, West. I'm really, really excited about it.
We're talking about My Hero Academia.
It is not My Hero Academia. It is The Good Place. I know that people would think that My Hero Academia is my favorite TV show of all time. But it is The Good Place, and we're talking just about season 1 today. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know that it's gonna be possible to talk about any part of this show without spoilers for season 1.
Yeah, I think that all we can do is sell it, doing what every person who talks about this show to someone who's not seen it yet does, is go watch it, you'll love it. I can't tell you anything else.
So that's us selling it today. Normally we sell something spoiler free, so that if you haven't seen it, you can go watch it. I cannot tell you anything about this show. Neither can West. If you haven't watched it, please go watch season 1 and come back. It's not very, I mean, is it 13 episodes for season 1? It's
I did it in the afternoon on my rewatch, so
it's 13.
Yep.
So it's not very long, but it is it is worth it. And it is especially worth it when you get to the later seasons. So
if you haven't watched this season, where have you been?
This one's good. I mean, yeah, that's it. So we're gonna enter spoilers pretty quickly in this one, West, I think. So that's it. Spoilers gonna start now. But before we get there, the reason that I wanted to give that warning first is because I think that the context of the entire season is really important for first impressions. But I have a question for you, Wes. The first time you watched it, when did you realize they were in the bad place?
Oh, I'm a dummy right till the end.
Okay, I don't know that makes you a dummy.
No, but like I'm thick enough to just let them give me the answers right when they want me to have the answers. I'm not going to pick it up much earlier than that. When I first watched it, I was shocked. I tell you that it was in fact the bad place.
So I figured it out on episode 10. When Chidi, the Chidi's Choice episode, where I'm like, this is absolute torture for this guy.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in the good place.
Sure.
But what were your first impressions of just this season of The Good Place?
I mean, it's magnificent. It just all of it from one end to the other is just an incredible act of turning expectations on their head and diving deep into what makes a human good, which I think is the overall both question of the show and the pursuit of art in general. So I think it pretty much hits the nail on the head for where it's supposed to be putting its conversation.
I had a very different first experience, and I think that this might surprise people who know how I feel about this show. I hated the first 5 episodes the first time I watched it. I was like, this is not funny. Nobody will tell me why this show is so great. I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening. This is just none of this is funny. Like none of it. And I was just like, and I think it was either Manny or somebody else was just like, dude, just trust me. Please keep watching. Please keep watching. And I'm like, all right, all right.
How soon after it coming out did you watch it?
It was already either season 2 or season 3. I was out.
Okay.
What about you?
I think I watched it all. I think I watched it right as Netflix started bringing up the incessant suggestion of watching season 3.
Okay. Yeah, I the thing is like, I think I think it was around episode 6. I was like, oh, I'm starting to enjoy this, and then by episode 10, I'm like, well, this is the bad place. But by the end of season 1, I was really invested in, like, I think I immediately went on to season 2. I was like,
oh yeah,
and I've now watched this show, at least the first 3 seasons, all of them at least twice, and I think season 1 now 4 times. So this is like, when I say it's my favorite TV show, this show has not been out very long, and the fact that I've watched it that many times is, I think, kind of just speaks volumes.
I mean, it's by volume, it's at least on the radar of How I Met Your Mother in terms of hours committed.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, to be fair, I've watched How I Met Your Mother an inappropriate number of times for like where that ranks in my favorite TV shows. Like, but it's also just good background noise.
You've had a lot of time to get that in, though.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I kind of want to dive deep though. Like, I think that this show is really interesting, in a lot of different ways, and this season specifically kind of does a lot of different things. One of the things that this season I think does really well, is if you take a look at the relationships between the humans in this season and the building of those relationships, you start to really appreciate some of like the smaller things about characters. A really good example of this is like, is there anybody who just doesn't love Chidi? Like, you want to hold him and help him make decisions and
slap him every time he's stuck in a decision.
Yeah. And the thing is like, the same thing is like kind of true of Eleanor in season 1, where you're like, oh man, you lived like such a terrible life, but it just feels like like you got dealt a raw hand too, and then seeing these flawed individuals come together in this season to like learn, specifically, Eleanor and Jason and Chidi, is really great. I was not a fan of Tahani in the first season. What was your favorite interaction between the humans, I guess, is my next question.
Sure, my favorite interaction between the humans. I think I really enjoy all of the ways in which I think that by the end of even season 1, you just have a really deep view of all of these characters.
Yeah.
And to the point where their flaws and their strengths are like pretty out in the open in front of you, and it's just about like seeing whose like view on the world connects to each other, because all of them have some incredible like chemistry together in like how they get along, like, and sometimes it's like really based around some tension, right? Two really differing views, and sometimes it's like the people see eye to eye on something without much argument. I think of like Jason and Eleanor, the way that they get along, of like Eleanor being like, I don't know what's happening, but that's basically me. Right? Only a couple steps removed from me. And Jason is just willingly accepting of everyone, right? I think Jason's unconditional love is such a powerful tool of his.
One of the things that I really liked for season 1 in the story is the time that they dedicate to certain characters. Like there are entire episodes, it feels like, where you're just like, where you get to understand Jason as a character. And a lot of TV shows do that, but this show did it in a way that like showed you their flaws.
which is, I think, I don't know. It's like it is so personal to, like, for these, like, what they're showing you of these people, that I know they're not real, but like you feel a connection there. You're like, oh man, like I understand these characters on a deeper level after watching some of these episodes. And they really, I think that like the episode with Tani where she's like showing her parents the picture of the bird, right? There's like a moment where you're like,
Yeah.
I don't really like Tahani, but I can see why Tahani kind of sucks, because like she just wants to be accepted, and that's
Yeah, I think
understandable.
we see how it's interesting because I think that in season one we really get explained how the family lives of both Tahani and Eleanor really set them off on the wrong direction. Or I guess we really don't even see it in season one for Eleanor. We only really see Tahani and her family issues in season one, right? To justify where she's at. I think every other character kind of just stands on their own for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think you see some stuff of Jason's in season one as well.
But you definitely see Jason flashbacks. I'm not sure you see the parental
Oh, sure.
where he goes wrong there.
Yeah. What is your favorite like arc through the show? Like, what is the storyline that really caught your attention?
I think that Jason Janet is just a really interesting thing to watch unfold. I think that Jason, right? Jason is just looking to be interacted with. He wants to interact with you, and he wants to do it positively if he can.
Yeah, I think
And the way that Janet's built is to, respond to being interacted in the same way. So in a sense, they just kind of play off of each other, only bounded by like, Jason's willingness to ask for things, which is low and just doesn't cover much. And like together they accomplish really cool things. They talk each other up because neither of them are characters that get focused on really. They're easily forgettable, right? Jason gets written out of scenes by other characters literally all the time.
right.
And Janet has a similar capacity in that any character can have her where they want her to be or not have her where they want her to be, whenever they want. And so, like, the two really find each other because they have to be together because no one else is going to give them what they need.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the motivation of Eleanor through this season. I mean, I know that this season is mostly about Eleanor. Like when you break it down and like, what, her journey is kind of like the focal point. But
Yeah.
I think that that's really good for the show. And it happens, right, because Michael chose her as the person that thinks that knows she's not supposed to be there other than Jason. But like, go ahead.
I disagree. The reason why Eleanor is the focus of the show is because Eleanor is the focus of Eleanor, and everything has to participate in that or not, even when the stakes are high. And after she gets better and better, but still in season one, Eleanor drags everything to her all the time.
That's fair. That's a good point.
So like you couldn't write Eleanor as the way she is and not have the camera focus on her and have it still make sense.
Right, but if Eleanor thought she was Eleanor and in the good place, how would the show have been different?
Oh no, totally. I think that she's the person to be examining does she belong in the good place the most. But like the reason, if all four of these humans are still, equivalent souls in this experiment, then I actually don't believe Eleanor is given. I mean, Jason has the same amount of priority, but Jason's just foolish enough to be kept silent for so long.
Right.
Like, sure, I think Eleanor is kind of the crux of it, but every other character is pushed to the side because of her strength and her just willingness to put herself in the middle of it, and her relentless questioning of everything all the time. Right?
That is you just got to literally the reason that her story is my favorite is because I see myself in Eleanor in that constant questioning. Like, I don't like stupid things like Eleanor, and I constantly question everything like Eleanor. And I think that something that you see with her in this season is like, I'm gonna do stuff on my own. I don't need your help. I don't want your help until she realizes that's her only option is and her realizing that she needs Chidi, I think is a big step for her just right off the bat. Like,
as in her message to herself at the end of the season.
what do you mean?
The pain.
No. I mean, I just mean her making the decision to talk with Chidi about improving as a person so that she could deserve to stay there, right?
Sure, to be open and vulnerable with Chidi.
Yeah, because like if you look at the end, right, where she is deciding that she will just go to the bad place, but still she wants to earn enough points so that she could have stayed in the good place, just so that she has the knowledge to know, like, I could have been a good person, obviously before it all goes awry and she goes to the meeting place. But I think that moment, those moments where, I mean, both the moment you talked about, right, where she knows she needs Chidi at the end, but also she needs Chidi during the season. And she
100%.
And she is saying, like, she is acknowledging that to herself every time she sits down in front of that chalkboard.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I mean, the fact that Eleanor told Chidi like what was happening with her is a really incredible moment for her, just because, as we know, the thing that Eleanor Shellstrop hates more than anything else is being vulnerable and open.
Yeah, and also I think that the fact that, I mean, you see it in the scene at the school, right? Like, she doesn't want anybody, she doesn't need anybody, and then you have her, knowing that she wants and needs Chidi. I don't know. It's really cool. And then also, her crush on Tahani is great too. So.
Yeah. And Tahani just like take praise literally so effortlessly that she doesn't even notice a lot of the time, I think is quite interesting.
Is there anything you would change in season 1 out of curiosity?
Anything I would change out of season 1? I mean, I wish every single person who ever had it spoiled for them.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
Was untouched by that, because I think that the thing that's incredible about season 1 of The Good Place is that the experience of watching it the first time is irreplaceable and cannot be reproduced.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think that, like, I know people who got spoiled for, and so I don't think that they had the same enjoyment as other people, which kind of sucks. But I think that the only thing that I would change about season 1 is I don't know how they would do this but like, season 1 is just not as funny as some of the other seasons to me. Like,
well, it's less absurd is what it is.
I think that it's not absurd enough for what it's trying to do, and then absurd in like weird ways. So like a really good example of this is like the shrimp. Like that, like, it's stupid and it's supposed to be funny because it's stupid, but like I watched this, like, I don't get it. Like, why do people think this show is funny? And I think that they kind of, I don't know, they told a line to like make it believable for the humans or something. I don't know.
I think that one place where like the humor that exists in the rest of the show just isn't really possible in season 1 is the characters are taking themselves pretty seriously. And a lot of the humor is in the irony of people doing dumb things, right? In the dramatic irony of us knowing that is a bad choice you are making, and yet you're doing it anyways, which is, I think, where all those characters are at in season 1. And as they grow, I think they get funnier. Like, I think that they become better at relating things. There's more in jokes to build on. There are there's there are far many moments where, like, it would be horrifying if that was what you were seeing for the first time, but like, it's laughable now.
Do you have a favorite character for the first season? Like, you mentioned your favorite coupling, but do you have actually a favorite character, or one that either you relate to or that you cared about?
Oh, I think that Chidi is it explains a large part of me in a lot of ways. I think I found myself paralyzed by decisions at many points in my life. Being and I've certainly spent as much time examining some of my decisions as Chidi does. And like, that anxiety as well, I think, speaks to me pretty well.
Sure. Was there a Chidi moment that specifically really got to you in this season?
That's a really interesting question. I think that honestly, the thing that I respect a lot about Chidi is he makes the complicated right choice as opposed to the obvious on its face right choice at the very moment that Eleanor presents the situation to him.
Sure.
Right? Like, I think that, oh, you don't belong here? Well, I'm going to ask the person in charge and we're going to follow his rules would be a very, like, lawful Chidi choice. But at the same time, his decision to, not spill the beans and help Eleanor is the extra step that I feel like many people who are in trouble just need. And as someone who, like, works with kids, I totally get that sometimes, right, the path for which you would normally pursue a big problem is going to severely harm or traumatize the person who is part of it, and, like, you just have to help them instead. Like, I've seen it before.
Fair enough. I like that. I like that a lot. I just realized what it is that's not funny about season 1 to me as you were talking. It's Janet. Because of Janet's limitations on season 1, she's less funny.
That's true. Janet is a really funny character after the first time.
It's definitely that. And also, the more you get of Janet later in the season, the funnier the show gets for me. And so I think that's the reason.
Yeah, I think that what is it? It's reboot 2 Janet, right? Like, the first time Janet gets rebooted, I think that Janet is actually pretty funny, even just then.
Yes, absolutely.
And her humor becomes vastly more sophisticated as she derricks all over the place.
So, I think that my favorite character is Eleanor, and my favorite Eleanor moment, I think I already mentioned it. So, but one thing that I will say that I didn't mention about Eleanor is I love how relatable she's supposed to be. Like, before you get to know her backstory, like, fork and shirt balls is like, I mean, that's just a funny moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I appreciate, like, the fact that she's like, the frozen yogurt thing. She's like, what? Why frozen yogurt? Like, she's questioning, she's relatable, she's funny. I don't know. I think that it's really funny to me that she's, like, mad about things in this place just right off the bat. She's like, why could you be happy here? Like, she just questions it right to start. I don't know. I really appreciated that about her.
Yeah, I think that there are a few elements of Eleanor that, lead her to being the person who solves the riddle, right? Who makes her the malcontent, the person always in pursuit of what's really happening here, is that first, she assumes ill intent on everyone else's behalf.
Yeah.
So, like, why would heaven be working for her, right? And
when she steals Tahani's diary, that is so That is so
Yeah.
funny.
That's classic. I'm gonna prove it in the most unhelpful way of proving anything. The one where you burn a bridge at the same time as learning what you need, maybe. Yeah, she's just relentless, and she starts with the sense that something is off, and by the sense I mean the literal her presence, right?
Right.
Essentially it's her in the world from the beginning, right? Because either this place works and I don't belong here, or I exist and this is someone else's fault.
Yeah. Is there a side character that you liked? Like Mindy St. James? Were you a Mindy St. James fan?
I think Mindy's funny, but
Mindy St. Clair? Is it Mindy St. Clair?
yeah, Mindy St. Clair. She's funny, but she's not like my hero side character. I think that the character that I most like kind of laugh at is Cheaty's real world friend, who like has the boots, the red cowboy boots.
Oh
I forget
my
his
gosh, that moment's so funny.
but just like the various interactions Cheaty has with him are kind of super characteristic of, I feel like, some friendships I had like in high school.
Fair enough.
Just like being really awkward people being really awkward together.
Yeah. Cheaty's friend there was that was a good moment. I got you some. Yeah, I think my favorite side character, I would say Janet, but she really becomes a main character, I think, halfway through this season. Mine would be Mindy St. Clair. I think that Mindy is
Absolute holler. She is hilarious. She is actually one of the more profoundly absurd elements of season 1.
Well, it's especially funny like when you like think about the point system. Which, by the way, did you pause to read all the points on that point screen? Oh man, I may have Googled all of the actions that you can take to get or lose points. It was ending slavery was the biggest point getter for what it's worth.
I was aware of that. I did note that one.
Another favorite one of mine was not talking about veganism unprompted is plus points. And then it's also worth more points than choosing to be vegan.
Well, that makes sense, right? Like your own yeah, right? Like the points are just is such an incredibly flawed idea.
Yeah. I think that like when you think about Eleanor making the decision to do the right thing for the right reasons, get her points and leaves is probably my favorite, and then choose to leave is like if Janet and Jason don't show up, she does it, right? Like she's made her decision and she's good to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a pivotal moment in the show.
Sure. Certainly, like setting out into the world is with no promise, just leaving your friends is kind of a big moment in every television show where it happens.
Do you have a favorite episode?
Oh, that's gonna make me have to look at a screen for a moment. I think that like just one. Well, I have a favorite real world moment that looks like an episode of The Good Place. In that outside our windows today, it looks like the chaos scene.
That's fair.
But the only thing that they had to go on was trees.
Yeah, my coworker. For those who don't know, we live in Utah. And we're having a huge windstorm today, and my coworker's tree blew down. My chair flew off my deck earlier. Like it is very windy outside. So, I think that my favorite episode is the What We Owe Each Other episode, for what it's worth. When Eleanor is distracting Michael. I don't know. I just really vibed with that episode, and Eleanor legitimately wanted to do the right thing, but also doing it just like completely the wrong way. I thought that was great.
That's a classic Shellstrop, right?
Right.
I think that what follows up, I think, is also actually a really important moment, which is how how eager and ready Eleanor is to help Michael when Michael is pretending to be taking everything going wrong in the town together or like on himself in
Right.
the Eternal Creek, where he kind of unveils, right, like the good liar he is, right, the real truth of what happens to a retired demon, but not telling the context or actually having it be likely that it happens to him in that situation.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wonder what if that is a moment that really had the effect on Michael, where like whether or not he was expecting to be appreciated and supported, maybe it still felt nice.
He probably did. Almost as nice as letting somebody merge into traffic 7,329 times for a total of 12,118 points.
What?
That's the point total for letting somebody merge into traffic 7,329 times.
That's exciting.
You get 12,118.13 points. I don't know why I find these so funny.
I mean, they are. I just I can't see it in front of me, so I can't actually keep track of digits that well.
If you save a child from driving, it's 1,200 points. So, just fun facts.
And if you teach a kid to drive, is that negative points? I bet it is.
I haven't gone that far on there yet. I've looked at these a few times though. They always make me chuckle.
Yeah. A calendar of it or something.
Oh, that'd be great.
Day by day. Like a good act to do today and a bad act to avoid today.
Let's do final impressions of this season. This one's a little bit different, right? Because like I didn't feel like we could do a lot of the stuff that we would do at the beginning of the show, so we kind of put it in throughout the show. So hopefully the tempo of the show, I mean, it's going to be a little bit off, but I think that it's a better experience to watch The Good Place with no context season 1 before listening to a podcast like this. So
yeah.
But what were your final impressions? You get to the end of season 1. I already told you I immediately watched the first episode of season 2.
Oh yeah, that was something I did as well. I might not have noticed it was even the end or the beginning of the season, because I think it's actually a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah.
To just what now? But I think the final question of the end of the first season is like, well, cat's out of the bag. Where do we go next?
Yeah, that's why you had to watch the next episode immediately, because you're just like, well, wait a second, what happens now?
Yeah.
like, how does this show keep going? I don't understand.
Yeah. They're all just going to go be tortured forever.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you have the moment where she puts the note into Janet's mouth, and she gets it back, so you know that it's not like it's going to be the exact same thing as last time. But it's funny, right? Because they could have done a Good Place season every, like, you know, the show could have just done another season where they torture her until she figures it out, right?
Oh, totally. I think that like half realize it. Well, I think that The Good Place gets a lot done in a very short amount of time, almost always.
Right.
They're able to make scenes accomplish multiple things and be very snappy, and they really cut everything else out, right? Like, something I'm utterly impressed by is that they never really let the punishment, like, this is a show about flashbacks and showing different moments a lot of the time, and yet we never actually see what punishment looks like in hell. And words do a really good job of telling us what the bad place is actually like, and no one ever needs to show you it. They just have to say the word.
Hear it from Janet if you want.
Yes, that's true. But like it's pretty cool that like a show that, like, even though it does kind of invest a lot into some of its special effects and like showing some weird things happening, they never feel like they have to go that far, right? They often let language do a lot, which I think is really powerful for a television show.
Yeah, I agree. I think my final impression of season 1 was just like, I get it. Like, I get the hype. I get.
Oh, yeah.
I get what's going on here.
Oh, actually, yeah. the reaction you're left with is that feeling of watching the magician pull off the magic trick, right? Is
Right.
you're like, I had no idea. Whoa, how'd you go over my head? Like, you know, like or like you're of like the, I saw how he did it.
Yeah.
Saw a little bit before it happened.
So,
And I think that's a really fun set of feelings to walk away from any experience with, and no wonder we all loved it.
what'd you give it? Let's do our 0 to 5 scale, West.
I think it's got a little bit of diminishing returns. I think it's a 5 on the first pass and a 4.5 on the second pass.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the first time you watch it ever, it was a 5, and I would probably give it like a 4 or 4.5 moving forward. It's one thing that I will say is if you have watched it, watch somebody else watch it. Like, then you get to live vicariously through them.
It's like a whole television season of the first half of The Matrix.
Exactly.
Seems
I
pretty
love it.
good.
Is there anything that you want to say before we go, West?
Ooh, the Good Place teaches us that our moral standing has much to do with the vector of where we're going.
Yeah.
Right? Where are we trending? Then what have we done? So, you know, go out and be kind to people.
That's a really good piece of advice. I like that, West. I'm really excited for the rest of these episodes. Season 4 of The Good Place is something West is watching for the first time right now. How far are you right now?
I watched episode 5. I've yet to record my reaction to it, and I can't watch any more episodes until I do it, and that's probably something I'm going to be spending my afternoon on. But recording all the reaction videos makes the whole process seem a lot more real, so I'm really savoring it.
Yeah, so we have West recording his reactions to season 4, and then I will put them together and put them on the YouTube channel, so that if you haven't watched season 4 of The Good Place, you can watch along with him and get his reactions. It's going to be fun.
Or just watch me, you know, look a fool the whole time as I take my guesses and get them sometimes right and sometimes wrong. And
yeah, you're in for a treat though. So thank you everybody so much for watching this week. Don't forget to check us out over on YouTube. If you are listening to the podcast, there will be more content on that YouTube channel moving forward. And if you have a chance to review us and give us a like on wherever you're listening to the podcast, it's super helpful and greatly appreciated. And check out the Discord. It's been popping the last little bit. It's been really fun. The memes are generating. And if you're into MTG, there's a lot of MTG talk going on right now in there. So, well, thank you everybody so much, and we'll see you all next week.
Take care, everybody.